Hello and welcome to College Selection for Catholic Parents. My name is Katherine O'Brien and I will be your host. Let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, you have called us to the holy state of marriage and have been pleased to make us parents. We recommend to you our dear children and entrust them to your fatherly care. May they be a source of consolation not only to us, but chiefly to you who are their creator. Be watchful, O Lord. Help and defend them. Grant us the grace to guide them in the way of your commandments. Make us conscious of our grave obligation to you and bless our efforts to serve you. We humbly ask this blessing from the bottom of our hearts for ourselves and for the children who you have been pleased to give us. We dedicate them to you, Lord. Keep them as the apple of your eye and protect them under the shadow of your wings. Make us worthy to come at last to heaven together with them, giving thanks unto you, our Father, for the loving care you have had of our entire family, and praising you together through endless ages. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. As I said, I'm Katherine O'Brien. I am the founder of Celtic College Consultants. I have been a college admissions, financial aid, and scholarship consultant since 2004, and I serve families across the country, actually the world, anyone who's wanting to send their children to school in the United States. I've written a couple of books. I've actually written 5 at this point. The Ultimate Guide to Top Quality College Planning gives parents an overview of college consultants and how we are certified and the different programs that we use, different services we offer, and information on price points. And then I also have now put out 4 editions of Every Catholic's Guide to College. They're both available on Amazon, and I will talk more about the college guide in due course. Been a popular conference speaker, just actually spoke earlier today on homeschooling to a group of college consultants. I'm a certified college planning specialist, so I've actually done training in this field. I have a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Northwestern. I have a master's in theology from Franciscan University of Steubenville, and I am a doctoral student in theology at Pontifex University. So kind of an academically oriented person. I've been a homeschool mom for 23 years. I have 6 kids, and I currently live in the Midwest. I used to live in San Diego and moved my kids back to the Midwest a couple of years ago so they could get to know some of my family. I've been a Benedictine Oblate for 30 years at this point, and I provide all of my college prep services from a Catholic perspective. I'm on the board with the local Catholic radio station and am in the process of producing a show on Catholic evangelization that will be available soon. In my college consulting work, my classes of 2015 to 2020 clients averaged being offered over $233,000 each in merit scholarships. So that's been kind of a cool thing to be able to monitor and watch and see them be successful in being accepted in numerous schools, know what they're doing, have good goals for college, as well as get some help, because help is always good. So here we are discussing moving our kids from home to campus. This was scary before COVID. Now it's even more scary. So we're going to talk about a number of different aspects, but I want to put it all in context. So a couple of things, our goal. We want our kids to be happy, whatever their vocation is, whatever kind of work they end up doing. So whether they have families, become doctors, lawyers, plumbers, anything in between, we want them to really do God's will and to become happy, holy people. So that's our goal. And as I prepare students for college, I use or have created this kind of 3-pillared program, and they all need to come together to get college success. So we need to get students well prepared, and I will talk about that to some extent during this talk. And then our focus is going to be on savvy college selection, and there's a lot of different aspects of that, and I will be talking about that today. That's our goal. And then abundant funding. We'll touch on that today as well. But we need all three of these. And I wanted to make that clear to put this talk in context of the entire college prep process. And it's very okay if our kids don't want to go to college. Not everybody does. And some of my happiest consultation meetings have been, affirming somebody's desire to go to trade school. And it's just a delight to see when that's the right path. And parents are sometimes nervous and they want to meet and discuss it. And it's like, no, this is perfect for this child, and to get that input from an outsider. So I've been glad to be able to provide that. Anyway, I wanted to share with you before we get into all the pieces and parts of college selection, the results of a poll that was done over a few years by Gallup, joined with Purdue University. And it was about primarily the impact of which college you went to and how happy you were. Are you happier if you graduated from Harvard than if you graduated from University of nobody ever heard of it? And what they found was that the kids who were the happiest had really, in a nutshell, taken advantage of what college has to offer. They had found professors who got them excited about learning, who cared about them as a person. They found mentors, may or may not have been the same person. They worked on projects that lasted more than one term. So they really went deeply into whatever they were learning. Sometimes these were in their fields, sometimes they weren't. These students typically got internships or jobs in their fields while they were undergraduates. So they were really deeply exploring experientially as well as academically their fields. And they were participating in extracurricular activities, be they sports or religious activities or social clubs or you name it. These kids were ready, got plugged in, and did a lot of things. They didn't just show up and sort of live through 4 years. It takes some preparation to be this kind of person. And an introvert can do this as well as an extrovert. That's not the only thing, but I wanted to put this in context because sometimes we get all concerned that we need to be in a brand name university, whether that's a Newman Guide school or an Ivy League school or whatever we think that, the cat's meow is of schools. But really it's what our kids do when they get to campus that makes the big difference in their outcomes. So no further ado, savvy college selection. Let's look at a lot of different aspects. So first, on the student preparation side, starting really when they're little, but especially 8th, 9th, 10th grades, deeply exploring, what do they want to do? Why go to college? What's the point of college? What can you do at college? They don't have a clue. They're being told they should go do this thing and more school. And for some of them, it sounds like torture, and others like, okay, whatever you say, I don't really know what it is. So when we get into exploring, what are their strengths? What are their interests? What careers does that line up with? What majors does that line up with? And start to help them explore that and gain that self-knowledge. They really start to create some serious goals that really are well suited to them. And they learn about their learning style. They learn about what they want to do and who they want to be. And then that also helps them identify the best environment. So while you're exploring careers, you're also exploring campuses. You need to visit some schools. And there's a huge range of schools, from super tiny to enormous and liberal arts and lots of Socratic discussion to humongous 1,100 person lecture halls, all sorts. Really religious schools, really anti-religious schools. There's just a huge spectrum. What's the best environment for your student? He or she needs to identify the different traits that they're looking for in an ideal school. So there is no best school, okay? For every student, it's going to be different. And then your budget. So I'm going to encourage you to go onto the school's websites and just in the little search bar, type in net price calculator and throw in your information. You can do it anonymously and get an idea of what your actual out-of-pocket cost is likely to be at that school. The better net price calculators will ask more questions, and they'll get into GPA and test scores and things, and you can play with them. And so go put in a 25 ACD and then go put in a 30 and see what the difference is in the scholarships, and put in a 3.1 and a 3.2. And you can use those things to help your student be motivated to improve their grades, to do well on the tests. although we're highly into a test optional mode right now because of COVID, we do have most of the scholarships still tied to test scores. So all of that data will be very helpful to you, because there's no point in getting into a school that's going to cost out of pocket more than you can afford to pay. And a lot of us have a bunch of kids, so we have to really think about this and do some long range planning. So putting all that together. So a lot of parents are wondering, you know, my child's young, how are they going to figure out what they want to do? It's like, well, their basic personalities there and the costs of not doing that pre-work are really high. So when we change majors, a lot of our credits don't count for the new major. Unlike high school, when we've got to do 4 years of English and math and kind of everything's pretty generic and everybody has the same requirements, as those of you who are college educated know, you know, this college inside the university or this major inside the college are going to have different requirements than this other one. And so when you move, not everything is going to transfer over or count towards your degree. And depending on how big of a change it is, you may lose more. So when you change majors, it's not at all uncommon to add an extra year of college. So at average costs, that's almost $25,000 in costs. And then you also lose almost that much again in income, just straight using the difference between what you make with a bachelor's degree and what you make with a high school diploma to figure that out. Now, if you also transfer schools because you didn't like it, or you're changing majors and transferring schools because the major I found that I loved, my school doesn't have, all that sort of things, it's not uncommon to lose 2 years. And so now we're into a 6-year bachelor's, and it's going to cost us $100,000 extra. Okay. And actually out of pocket, when you crunch all the numbers, it typically costs twice as much to finish in 6 years than it does in 4, because you've lost 2 years of income and then you have 2 years extra cost. And we know that most of the student debt and extra cost comes in year 5 and year 6 because your financial aid and scholarships and things are overdone, but you want to finish, so it costs more. So doing that pre-work when kids are 8th, 9th, 10th, and finishing in 11th grade, so they know what they want to do. They've got a clear idea who they are. They are down into a small cluster, a range of majors, not just sort of, I'm here undecided, will make an enormous difference down the line. And that's important. Okay, graduation rates is another thing. So you will need to look for that data when you are exploring schools. And sometimes what is listed is 150%, which is a 6-year graduation rate. Sometimes it's a 4-year graduation rate. So when it's only showing you 6-year graduation rates, you want to dig and find the 4. The average public university takes 6 years to graduate. Average private takes 4. So the out-of-pocket cost is more for the private until you add in the lost wages, those 2 years of wages. So then it's less, even though it costs twice as much to go each year. So just some things to keep in mind. And some places they did it as a budgetary thing. You know, the University of California schools, a lot of times kids are not getting done till 5 years. Their graduation rates are all over 50%, barely. The CSU schools, the Cal State schools, no, they're not. San Diego State's the best, and it's 33%. People are always surprised to find that out. That's the best of the Cal State schools. Why? Well, they had budget cuts. So what did they do to balance the budget? They took more out-of-state students, and they took more students than they had seats for. So if we had, you know, room for 50 kids to take all of the required courses for our major, we took in 60 or 75 kids because we needed the tuition money. But that meant that 10 or 25 kids didn't have enough seats in that sequence of courses that was required. So they rolled into another year because they're only offered, you know, these certain terms. And if you didn't get a spot, you got to wait another year to get it. So that contributed significantly. So in most cases, that's not the situation, but in some cases it is, that it's an institutional problem. And then it snowballs. And then you are into a culture, you know, if 2/3 of your graduates are not finishing in 4 years, guess what the trend is? Guess what the expectations are? You're not going to finish. So just relax, enjoy yourself. So you really have to be driven and focused to be part of that minority that's going to get done. So just some other things to consider. Scholarships and merit aid. So 90% of all scholarships come from the colleges themselves. Most people think of private scholarships when you say scholarships, and they're thinking Walmart or Coca-Cola or the Knights of Columbus. those are great. However, they impact financial aid, need-based financial aid eligibility adversely dollar for dollar. And most of the money is coming from the schools themselves. So while there's a lot of money over there, there's a lot more money over here. So this college selection piece is huge as far as lowering our costs with scholarships. And they're not all tied to, being the world's greatest athlete or the 4.8 GPA perfect test score kid either. So a lot of our schools, especially master's and liberal arts colleges, are using them basically as coupons to attract students. It is not at all unheard of to go to one of these schools. And a master's college is a school that offers bachelor's and master's degrees, but no doctorates. Liberal arts colleges are liberal arts colleges. So they've got a whole different style and focus in their, on their campuses. And these tend to be regional schools. And so in order to attract kids, they will oftentimes start the tour in the admissions office. Everybody who comes here gets a $10,000 scholarship. Oh, so that tells me you're inflating your sticker price by $10,000 so that you look like a peer institution with the schools you're competing with for students. But your actual price is $10K less for everybody. So don't let sticker price freak you out. You actually need to dig deeper than that. Okay. And be aware that your name brand schools don't have an incentive to give a coupon. If I'm Harvard, I don't need to attract students. Thank you very much. I have plenty of great applicants. I don't give any scholarship aid at all. So that is true for all of our super selective top tier schools. They don't give, almost none of them give any scholarships. However, they have great endowments. They give a lot of need-based aid. So, and we'll give you an example of that shortly. So it's a different bucket of money. So we're going to get into that. So need-based aid, when you do the FAFSA form, which you may have heard of, which is the free application for federal student aid, almost every school will require it. And this is your gateway to federal student loans, parent loans, and federal work-study programs, okay? Most schools and states also tie theirs to the FAFSA form, but they don't all. There's an additional form and whatnot. But when you put in your asset and income information and your students' income and asset information, you get your EFC, your expected family contribution. So your cost of attendance here at U of I, and I've got two schools, they're rival schools in Illinois. So the cost of attendance is COA for in-state is about 30. Your family contribution for the calculations is 5. And then it leaves you almost 25 for need. So that next line, percent need met. So on average, U of I meets 66% of need. So that means on average, they don't meet 34% of need. So what does that mean? That means that I'm going to pay my $5,000 and I'm also going to pay 34% of the 25 grand I need. So it's another 8 off the top. And then they might add loans to that. Okay, so that's what happens when you have the percent need met less than 100, which is true for most schools. This is actually really good for a public school. And you'll find the flagship public universities, University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, those will do better than the other schools in their state, the other public universities. Okay, so for a U of I, their split between gift aid and self-help is 2/3, 1/3. So gift aid is any money that's free. So tuition reduction, grants, scholarships, anything I don't have to pay back, it's a gift. Self-help in financial aid language means work study and loans. So when I do these calculations, I always consider it loans. And it's always a nice gift when it's work study and my student can get a job, and that's less loans they're taking out. And they've got more skin in the game, so it's all good. But for calculating, I always consider it all loans. You always want to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So your true cost when you add the loans back in is $18,700. Now Northwestern is twice as much to go there. And so your need is almost 58, or it's 58, almost 59. And a lot of families wouldn't even bother to apply, but it's 100% need met school. And the split is 85% gift aid. On average, that's what they give. 15% self-help. So then your out-of-pocket cost is 5, and you add that self-help back in, you have 13.8. It's cheaper, okay? Even though the sticker price is more than twice as much. This is true until the family's expected family contribution is more than the total cost to go to University of Illinois. Okay, so I go through this illustration in detail so that parents really understand that percent need met is a bit of data you need to know about, and it makes a humongous difference in what you actually end up paying and what you can actually afford. Because a lot of families are going to look at, oh, it's 63, honey, we need 58. We can't afford it, sweetheart. I'm sorry. We're just going to take it off our list. And then you're going to pay $5,000 more a year to go to U of I. Oops, not a good plan. Okay, Catholic colleges. I'm sure that everyone is thinking about this. So what does that mean? Catholic colleges are colleges that were started by Catholics. Many of them by religious orders, some of them by groups of lay people. There's 1 or 2 that are diocesan. But what does that mean? Well, we have the entire spectrum from we adhere to everything the church teaches, and we see it across the board in our dorm policies, in our classrooms, in student life, and the clubs we have on campus, and activities we participate in, and all of that, to the whole other end of the spectrum of kind of Catholic in name only and historically Catholic, and anything goes on our campus, and you don't need to take any classes having anything to do with Catholicism, or if you do, we probably aren't going to teach you what the church actually teaches anyway. So you have an enormous spectrum here. It can be very difficult to figure out what's actually going on. I can tell you that I know for a fact that some of our Newman Guide schools have had serious problems with sexual abuse on their campuses and cover-ups by their administration in the past. So our really good schools have really big flaws, and our schools that are not as observant have their own flaws as well. So there is nothing perfect under the sun. There are sinners on every campus, but where's the right place for us? So there's a lot of things to consider and explore in this. I'm going to talk about it all generally, but I also want to address your public or your non-Catholic schools that have Newman Centers on campus. So Newman Center is functionally a Catholic parish for the college community. Remember, some of these colleges have 20,000 students, and some of them, 10,000 of them are Catholic. That's bigger than most parishes, okay? So Newman Centers are the Catholic centers. So at Catholic-run universities, they have campus ministry. In Newman Centers, they have the Newman Center. So they're both going to have campus ministry directors, and they're both going to have a chaplain. So you'll want to explore what's happening at that school on campus and in the campus ministry or Newman Center. The Newman Center is a wealth of, it's just such a strong place, and same with campus ministry, but it gives you this home away from home. You have connections with your spiritual family. We're used to going to mass. We know what retreats are and holy hours are. We have certain things we celebrate. So we have customs and food things we like to do. And so it's familiar, which is an enormous help to students as they transition to college. On the back end of that, we've got student and professional campus ministers who can help our kids and mentor them and can plug them into mental health resources when they need it. Who can just, be a shoulder when they have a relationship breakup or a problem with their dorm, roommate, or their professor is driving them crazy, or they miss turning in an assignment, or, the millions of things that happen, or they just plain old miss mom and dad. So there's a lot of things in addition to the spiritual that come out of these campus ministry centers, both on Catholic campuses and on non-Catholic campuses, that are really important for us to vet out. It's, as I said, very difficult. So I'm going to mention Newman Connection real quickly, and then I'm going to mention a resource that you can use to help you get more information about what's going on the Catholic spectrum of campus life. So Newman Connection is a ministry that helps connect high school students with the staff at the Newman Center of the college they're going to go to. So that's something you're going to be interested in during the senior year after you've decided which school you're going to. Okay. Well, I guess I'll get to the other. There's a huge resource I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I'm realizing I'm kind of long. Okay, so when you want to assess colleges, you want to look at everything: the athletics, student life, the academics, the majors, the kinds of opportunities to study abroad and at home, and internships and hands-on, and just all those different modalities. So all those things, you want to assess them. Look at the Catholic life on campus and in class. As I said, there's a tool I'm going to talk about. Desired majors, programs, professors, academic challenges and opportunities. That's another thing you must look at. Cooperative education and internships. So this is when I'm a student and I'm working in my field. Hands-on learning. Some schools are great at this. Some schools don't offer it at all. Undergraduate research is another thing. Some schools have a lot of it. Some schools don't have any. Post-graduation placement and salaries. Some schools are great. Most schools have some kind of placement office to help you put together a resume and get your first interviews. Some of them are really, really great and have huge alumni networks. Some of them, it's kind of lip service and it's underfunded and there's not a lot going on. So that's a consideration. Your graduation rates we discussed, scholarship opportunities. You want to research those, and you want to research, drill down at the university, at the college inside the university, at the major, or at the department inside the college, and in the major that your student is looking at. There can be opportunities for all of those. And then you can additionally find, sometimes they're by your gender. Some schools have entire scholarship search engines as part of their financial aid site. So some of those you can't access until after you've started to apply. So there's a lot of different pieces there, but you want to go dig. Percent of financial need met, talked about that. And then tuition reduction programs. We've got, for our public universities, consortiums of states. There's, I think, 6 across the country of groups of states that have made agreements, and certain of their colleges and certain majors inside those colleges are participating, and they're giving reduced out-of-state tuition for students within the group of states. So that's something else to look for. And if you don't have it by state, sometimes you have it by regions. Like where I'm at right now, they don't have it, but there's a tri-state region nearby, and there's certain schools in this region that participate. Okay, so all of those things are things you're going to need to look at. This is the tool I wanted to bring up. So this is the 4th edition. I've put together this college guide for parents just like you. Where can we possibly go to school? So this is a full 600-page detailed resource guide. So you want to get one for your family, use it to death, share it around your homeschool group, donate it to your local Catholic high school, give it to your youth minister, your pastor, when you are done with it. There's a 150-page index by major at the beginning. So you can, I'm starting to think about aerospace engineering. Where could I go that has a good, strong Catholic community? And then there's a page or 2 for every single school that's in here. And in order to get in the guide, you have to be Newman Guide recommended, or one of the top 50 Newman centers in the country, or you've got Focus Missionaries, or you've got a Catholic dormitory, or you've got St. Paul's Street Evangelization Missionaries. All the Thomistic Institute chapters are mentioned as well. If there's a Council of Knights of Columbus on campus for the guys, that's mentioned as well. There's some Catholic Daughters chapters that are mentioned. There's a Catholic sorority in a couple of schools in Texas that's mentioned. And every page, in addition to the admissions information, the cost information, the financial aid information, all the majors, you have a section, and it is as long as I could make it, with all of the information that's available online about what's going on that campus. You have everything from schools like the University of Wisconsin at Platteville, which is out in southwestern Wisconsin, in the middle of farm country, just a small school in the University of Wisconsin system. And they have had 17 priestly vocations in the last 7 years. They offer Latin Mass at 6:30 in the morning and have 50 to 60 students every day, and have lots of other things going on as well. Who would think? It's, just your generic public university. You got University of Illinois and Texas A&M that have been pumping out vocations for years and have Catholic dormitories. You know, all of that information is there, along with the name of the campus minister, the name of the chaplain, and their phone numbers and emails. So you can read up on what's going on and the different offerings that are available on that campus, and you can reach out. Everything you need to evaluate these schools is there. So I'm going to strongly encourage you to get this. This is the blue one. It's the 2021 one. There are 4 editions available on Amazon, so you make sure you get the correct one. This college guide is going to help you enormously, and then share it with your friends. And it's $30, well worth it. It took hundreds of hours of research, and it's going to be so life-giving in terms of the information that you need in every aspect. I do have the percent need med is in there. You know, I did the research for you to pull it together. There are about 300 colleges and universities listed. Most of them are public. Some of them are Catholic, and I give you the information so that you have the information you need to discern what is the best situation for your child. And to start your research, you know, we've got a lot of it right there, and then go into the in-person research whenever campus is open, or by telephone, or, you know, whatever you can manage. Okay, so strongly encourage everyone to get a copy of that. Again, to put it in context, so we have the 3 pillars of college preparation that come together to make college success. So our students need to be ready. They need to know what they're doing. They need to have the academic and life skills. They need to have the leadership, et cetera. So there's getting the student ready, picking the colleges, talked about that today, and then the funding. So we touched on that today, but there's a lot more to it, as you may guess. But all 3 of these come together in to create college success, and what I call the 3 pillars of college success. I work with students one-on-one. I also work with parents and give them college prep support. So we meet for a half an hour a month, and I coach them through as they guide their student. And then whatever time permitting around my one-on-one consulting, I offer a la carte services, be it helping with admissions essays, or the college selection process, or the career exploration process, or the application process. Whatever I can do around my one-on-one consulting students, I make available. And then I also have discounted test prep for ACT, SAT, PSAT that's available. So I invite you to explore my website, CelticCollegeConsultants.com. Check out my services, my blog. There's a link to that. I've got tons of articles and lots of information. There's some links to free videos. It's just a lot of information for you about many aspects of college preparation. There's also a form for you to sign up to meet with me to discuss your situation. Personally, we'll meet for an hour, and then your best options moving forward. We'll come up with a rough plan from here to college success for your student. And get started. There's no time like today. And then a bonus, because you took the time today to hear my talk, I wanted to share with you CelticCollegeConsultants.com/free-book to get my free ebook, 15 Ways to Save $10,000 on College. And this is a guide that I created that gives you specific strategies you can actually implement. So not all of them will work for every family. They're different situations, but there's a lot of them, and you can often employ multiples of them. And some of them you could start quite early. So I would encourage everyone to get that and explore. It'll give you a lot of ideas of ways to start creating that abundant funding, in addition to the scholarships and the need-based aid that we already discussed. So remember that God's in charge. It's all going to be okay. We have hope. Put your hope in God. He will give us everything we need. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless you. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.